Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Spotlight on Unicorns. Today we are joined by Malvika Sriram. And I met Malvika at FICO. She was a junior engineer when she started, and she joined we were on the seventh floor. And she had, I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but you were very close to the UX group. And so you got pulled into a lot of our shenanigans. But as I got to know you and I got to know a lot more about your background and some of the amazing talents that you have, I have so much appreciation for you. And so I wanted to invite you as one of the unicorn ladies on this channel. And I think of you as like a unicorn in progress because you have your entire career ahead of you. You're
Of
going to be doing
course.
amazing things in your life. So I'm not
Thank
going to call
you.
you junior unicorn because that's the kind of insulting. But so anyways, I wanted to have you on because I just you're going to do amazing things in your life, and so I am like selfishly trying to get this snapshot of where you are right now. And so anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you so much, Nicole. I mean, I didn't deserve all of that, but thank you so
Oh,
much.
absolutely
Uh,
deserve it.
I feel like I can't be a unicorn in training without having people there to support me. So I really appreciate your support and all my mentors for being there for me in all fields that I've been involved in. So I mean, that's more important. Thank you so much for everything. But yeah, an intro about me. I'm Malvika, and I'm a software engineer at FICO. And that's where Nicole and I met. And I'm also a musician, kind of on the side, trying to make it a bit, bigger, but I don't know where that's going to take me. So it's a work in progress. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm also a master's student currently. I'll be graduating May of this year from Johns Hopkins University
Mhm.
with a degree in computer science. So yeah, a lot going on.
You are a very, very, very busy woman, and you're always busy. You've always been busy. So, like, for the first question, why did you choose engineering? I know that you have an extensive background in traditional Indian music, and just for my own, how many different instruments do you play?
Um, Actually, it's an open-ended question. It's
You
all
keep
I think
adding.
it's yeah, it's based on perspective because I wouldn't say I've mastered any instrument. I wouldn't even say I'm good at any instrument. I think I've kind of mastered my understanding of how vocals and music works,
Yeah.
but I use the general knowledge to apply it to things like playing the guitar or playing the keyboard, but a lot of that is by ear or like used for compositional purposes.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't have much mastery on any instrument, but I hope to do that soon.
Except your voice instrument, because I've heard you sing and it
Thank
just
you.
blows you away. When
Thank
did
you,
you,
thank
I mean,
you.
so the question about like you chose to be an engineer, but
Yeah.
you've had like when did you start your musical training? Like when did you actually start working?
I would like to say, I would love to say that I chose engineering and was extremely passionate, but that's far from the truth. My parents were both in engineering, so they
Mm.
kind of pushed me towards it as a better career path. I think a lot of Indian kids of Indian descent who live in America go through that, and also everywhere actually for that matter. That's kind of the thought process that Indian parents have, where you want to make sure you have a stable career and you can do your stuff on the side. And if it works out, it works out, but at least you have that option. So, I mean, to be frank, I went in with that intention that this was going to be primary, but also secondary. And I ended up actually really liking the field and kind of stuck with it. And we'll get into it later. I mean, ultimately, I think my goal is still music, but I am not opposed to sticking around in engineering, and I'm really enjoying my time there. But in terms of classical music, I had a kind of weird progression. I started learning like most other kids when I was around 3 or 4, and I got kicked out because I think something about me is that I'm not good at following a set of rules. I like to
Mm.
always do my own thing, and I learn a lot better by discovering my own process.
Yeah.
But at the age of 4, you can't really verbalize that. You just act out. So
Mm.
I was just going to music class, not practicing. And I even got demoted from from like my level. It was rough. So
Oh,
we just thought I wasn't gonna do anything. in music, and then things kind of took a turn. And we can get into that more, but and then I suddenly started doing it on my own, like accord, and it became much bigger than I thought it was going to be. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that actually falls into the next question, which is like, what did you want to be when you were little?
I wanted to be a rock star, and I still want to be one, and I'll always want to be one. That never changes for me.
That's awesome. That
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
what type, like rock and roll rock star?
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like rock and roll, or even like hard rock. Like some of my favorite bands include like Queen. Queen is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do something kind of like Freddie Mercury, where I'm like up on stage singing really heavy rock vocals
Yeah.
over a really high range. So I mean, that's something I've always wanted to do. I've really enjoyed being on stage. Like that's where I'm my happiest self. So I
Yeah.
really hope there are a lot of blockers in my own personality that prevent me from pushing myself enough to get there. So I'm really working through that. So maybe maybe we'll check in a couple more years and we see some progress on that
I
front.
know. This video will all of a sudden get like 1 billion views.
I don't know. I hope. I hope.
So
Yeah.
with your day job of what you're working on
Mhm.
right now, and then we can also talk about like your passion, which is
Of
what's
course.
the hardest part of that job? So when you're thinking about like your day job
Mhm.
versus, versus the the passion that you're putting into your other love in life.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I think a lot of like the hardest parts of my job or performing or anything comes from the obstacles I create for myself. I
Oh,
think actually I've been very lucky, because I have such, like accomplished parents who are both from engineering backgrounds, and they have all these amazing connections. I've been able to feel more integrated and find myself feeling more comfortable in these kind of situations at work. Just like compared to other people who are probably just starting out in the software engineering field without any background.
mm,
So I think a lot of the infrastructure has kind of been set for me from when I was a little kid.
mhm,
Um, so that's why I think a lot of the obstacles come from my own problems. And I think the hardest part of my job is um, the fact that I volunteer to contribute while I'm still in the learning phase.
mm, mhm,
That is one of my bigger obstacles. And the reason I do that is because I make it harder for myself by saying yes to projects that I'm not too familiar with, but that's the best way I learn personally, which is by forcing myself to take the hard way and commit new information to memory through my like real world examples.
yeah.
So I would like to say that experimentation precedes discovery. I like to apply that concept in my day-to-day life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was, I mean, that's definitely one of the things that I noticed with our relation when I knew you at FICO is that
Mhm.
you were always the first one to jump in. It's like, oh, hey, that's a great idea, or helping out with any of the women at FICO things that we put on. Like you
Mhm.
were always really active and engaged in that, and so you'd never, and you'd never know that you'd never done it before. Like
Yeah.
you were so like you were just so gung ho with everything. So I
Yeah.
definitely see that in your personality. It's like you're just gonna jump in and figure it out, right? And learn from that experience. And so
Yeah,
having that sort of that's what we call a growth mindset, right? Is
of
being able to
course.
go into a situation and really, and embrace the challenge and figure out a
Of
way to
course.
solve it. So
Mhm.
that's an incredibly valuable skill. Um,
Yeah.
what's one thing that you wish, I know it's very early in your career, you're going to have this like very long, either, working with technology or working in the music industry, but
Mhm.
what do you think, what's one thing at this point that you wish that you had changed or done differently?
So I think obviously my ultimate goal in life is to do something in music,
Mhm,
something that will make people feel happy emotions, and I want to feel like I've improved someone's life or touched someone's life by making positive contributions. And I think for me, even though I like engineering, that like my calling seems to be music.
mhm.
So I'll do this mainly from a music perspective. I think
Okay.
one thing that I wish I had done differently is apply that growth mindset to my music. And I
Mm,
don't do that because I think there's a lot more weight to what I put out in music versus what I put out in software engineering. Because when you're in a team and you're working on features or you're doing a specific task, you have like a very set acceptance criteria or expectation for that task. And it's like it's defined. The whole point of it is to have like a defined scope. And that gives you like kind of an understanding of what the future holds. But in
Yeah.
music, it's different, right? You can jump into 10 different initiatives and it could go nowhere. Or you could jump into an initiative that makes no sense initially and ends up becoming what set you apart eventually, right? So I think the fear of the unknown and not putting myself out there the way I do in software engineering at my job, that's what I wish I could have learned a little bit earlier. And that self-awareness might have set me on a faster path to where I want to be in music.
And with the
So I
music,
think,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
that's a good insight, you know. And
Mhm.
also too, like I never ceases to amaze me when you put a new video. It's like, where does she find the time to, does she not sleep? Like,
I don't.
it's just like it's so much stuff going on between getting a master's degree, working full time, and then also doing the music. I mean, like it's just amazing how you're able to balance all of that. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
it's very inspiring.
No,
So,
I think it's about the same, nothing like that. I mean, it's about the same for everyone. It's just how we choose to prioritize certain things. And based on that, you'll put a certain amount of effort, and based on that, you'll spend a certain amount of time.
yeah.
And I feel like I technically can't be saying I'm multitasking as much as I say I am, because I don't spend as much time on my music. I do get time in between
Mhm.
working, and in those moments when I choose to do other things instead of music, that's where I see I can make an improvement.
Mhm.
So I do find myself surprisingly having more time than I let on. And it's just the choices I make in that
Yeah.
time, like, hanging out
Yeah.
with friends, doing other things. So, but that's
Yeah.
a learning insight. That's why I'm a unicorn in training, very much in training. I have a long way to go. Uh,
Well, you're doing
yeah,
a great job.
thank you.
If you could change anything about the job, what would that be?
So maybe like more on a software engineering side?
Either way, like if you could change anything about what you're doing right now, you know,
Mhm,
with software versus, your career with software versus the work that you're doing with your music career.
mhm. I'll give an insight into both. I think for software engineering, this is like more of an insight that I've gained from a lot of other companies that I've seen and like
Mhm.
people's experiences. I think I would change the rigidity of the SDLC process. This is something I've observed in the software industry, but some of the larger corporations, like I'm not name dropping with much knowledge, but like maybe Amazon or Facebook, I've
Mhm.
read case studies that they like to find like optimal ways from team to team to generate success without setting a very strict guideline.
Mhm.
But I guess I see why I prefer that, because I'm not much of a rule follower.
Yeah.
I've never been productive when someone dictates a finite structure. Um, and yeah, I mean, I know that the point of Scrum and Agile is to promote workflow fluidity, but I often see that when human beings are they're always drawn to finding a fixed point when there's chaos. So even if you try to find a way out of the chaos, you end up hitting a fixed point again.
Yeah.
So I guess the
Yeah.
point of that is to say, like, I think we should have more enforcement on how there's team to team structure and how that should affect how we do our Scrum methodologies and our workflow practices.
Yeah.
So I think
I
that's
think the
something.
disappointing part of that is that,
Mhm.
and I've seen it over Waterfall gave you a lot more flexibility in terms of individual teams working models, right?
Yeah.
It was more interested in the outcome, right? Okay,
Mhm.
you have
Mhm.
this date you need to deliver something by, you hit it.
Correct.
With Agile and then with Safe, it's because they're trying to do things so quickly, right? There's not a lot
Mhm.
of time for people to sit and think.
Yeah.
Different, it's also assuming that people are very machine-like
Mhm.
and that there's not a lot of differences in terms of like how you even do your work as an engineer. They just assume like, oh, engineers do their work the same way, or designers do this all their work the same way. It's like I always felt like if I gave the designers an end date of like, okay, we need to have everything done by this date, let's work backwards and figure out how you're gonna do it. It's easier for them to be able to do that work as opposed to like it's almost like a card. Like every day
Yeah.
you gotta punch in your time. And
Yeah.
it's like it's daunting to be able to do that, right? And to be able to
Yeah.
and I really think that it does a disservice to the fact that we're all people and we all have individual different ways of working. And
Absolutely.
I think it really tries. I don't, who knows where it'll go next, you know?
Yeah.
There might be a pendulum swing back to something that's a little bit more, you know, a little bit more creative, but
Correct.
you know, but yeah, I totally know where you're coming from. So for the you know, for the music, you know, music side, what do you think, what would you change about that as far? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, like being able to
Hmm.
spend more time and being able to
Yeah.
focus a little bit more time on that. Is there anything else that you think that you would do a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't change anything about the music industry because I'm not aware of all the twists and turns I'm about to face now that I've
Yeah.
made the commitment to start trying.
Yeah.
But I think what I will say is I will change. I'm working hard to change my mindset
Hmm.
towards how I approach content. My style of content and thinking about content is very old fashioned. I don't love posting daily on TikTok. And, I have some amazing friends who will literally sit me down and tie me up and force me to post my music that, I spent so much money on like trying to find videographers and they obviously want to see me put out that music. And my parents will be like, why are you not posting anything?
Yeah.
I think I need to change my understanding and perception of social media today. Um, because it's not in my comfort zone. That doesn't mean I have to avoid it. That means I
Mm,
have to embrace it and do it if it means that it's going to bring me happiness. So yeah, I think changing my mindset towards like how I approach this career, not just stick to my comfort zone.
got it. Got it. Yeah,
Absolutely be something.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
What would you tell your younger self about where you are now? So if you're thinking back to maybe not the 4-year-old, but maybe like the 6, 7-year old, like what would you tell that person about who
Mhm.
you are now and where you are now?
Yeah. I guess I would say that everything's gonna be okay. More than okay, in fact. That was something that I didn't feel as a child because, I was I faced a lot of struggle. I was often the odd one out. I
Mm,
was very introverted and it was difficult for me to make friends. I got bullied. So I feel like I that shaped a lot of who I am today and how I treat other people.
mhm,
At the same time, it also prevents me from stepping forward and making decisions that could help me, but I'm too apprehensive because I'm scared of the results, what other people will think of me.
mm.
So I guess I would tell myself that as long as you're yourself, it's okay. Because that's what a unicorn is, right? You're supposed to be the odd one out as long as you're being
Exactly.
a good person. Um, and I'm always committed to being a good person and
Yeah.
not doing anything that will harm anyone and try to help as many people as I can. And if that makes me the odd one out, so be it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing
Yeah.
and
And you're
it'll be good.
absolutely, you're 100% right. Unicorns are rare and unicorns are different and they're not the same. They don't come out of a factory, they don't come out of a mold. And so you're exactly right. So yeah, I think if I go back, that's a really interesting question that I've had
Mhm.
because I think a lot of the ladies that I've talked to, similar situation, like always kind
Mhm.
of, the odd one out, kind of doing marching to their own drummer, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what sets you up for being different from other people and doing things that it just, other people wouldn't be able to do. So yeah,
Mhm.
that is a huge part of the whole unicorn, the hero's journey, right? The
Yes.
unicorn's journey. So um
Hero.
so who do you think has helped you the most in your career?
I mean, again, my career is just beginning in
Yes.
both aspects,
Yeah.
but for whatever it's been, I have so many people. I mean, obviously, first of all, my parents. They both have very high expectations, and for me, that for somebody who has been, marching to the beat of their own drum,
Mhm.
that's kind of a foreign concept, which I only realized later came from a place of like, we believe in you and not just like we want you to do only this. And I think we've come to that understanding. But obviously, without them, I wouldn't be anywhere. They have been so supportive, and we've been through this journey together. So them mainly, that's first and foremost. My family, I have a lot of family in India. They care so much about my well-being. They used to drop me off to music class. It was a 2-hour drive. They'd take me to and from every day, every summer since
Wow.
I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it without them. I have some amazing friends. All of them support me so deeply with so much care. They feel like my own siblings, so I can't do it without them.
Yeah.
And they're all established in their own right. So I have a lot to learn from them too.
Yeah.
And I guess lastly, all of my music mentors. I have two amazing music teachers.
Mhm.
And I have so many people along the way, such big artists and big names in the Indian industry and beyond, who have been so helpful to me in identifying where I want to go with my music, because I have so many different musical interests, and they've shown me my best path and tried to push me in the direction that I like to be in. So
Yeah.
yeah, so many people I can't even count.
Yeah.
All my managers too,
Yeah.
every single one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just to add another point too. So when I met your mom the first time, when I started working at FICO,
Mhm.
probably within the first 10 minutes, we started talking about our girls, right? And just like how proud and all the rest of it. But I mean, she just, it was like every time I'd have a conversation, it was like opening another layer, but like every time, like of who you are, who you are, and all these amazing abilities. So I can just say, like, as one mom, to another, just you're an amazing person in her eyes. So
Thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
it's just
And
like the sun
I
just, rises and sets on you. So just
I
very,
know
very proud. So
I'm very lucky I mean, I used to say it sucks to be an only child, but I am very lucky to be one now that I think back, just because I have so many supportive people. And being an only child makes you want to be closer to people naturally. So obviously that comes with its ups and downs. Like when you find people in your life and you get close to them and they end up being bad apples, then that tarnishes you internally. But
yeah,
when you find those great people, it changes the game.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just having such, and of course, not to mention you, who has always been supportive of me, my music. I remember you sharing my music the day you met me. We met at the parking lot right after my
yeah.
interview. And I was so nervous, I was shaking, and you just came and completely brightened my day
Oh,
after that
I
crazy
just
8 hour.
I was so blown away by your talent. I mean, I was just like, oh my God, this woman needs to get, like, she needs to be out there. She needs to be big.
Oh my
I think I
goodness.
posted it to like 3 or 4 of my social media sites. So, but I was so excited to meet somebody that was just such a fascinating person. Like you don't go through life and necessarily meet people like that have that kind of talent. So,
I don't know
that
if you've
was,
looked at yourself in the mirror, because
uh,
you've got to be one of the most unique, talented people I have known. Like
oh
I
God,
remember seeing
I'm
you
gonna have to
walk
go
in
back and
and
play that over and over.
you don't need to just call me anytime, I'll tell you.
We'll be each other's hype squad, right? Um,
Exactly. We need
you
that.
don't need any more hype squad because I'm on your Instagram and I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
your friend group. It's just like a dream friend group. Like all of you having fun together, all of you
They're
sharing
right
all these
behind me
amazing.
right now. They're
Oh,
trying to figure out what's happening here.
nice. They are an amazing group of people and
They
just like
are. They
really
are.
interesting. And every time I see it, I was like, oh my God, that just it have that kind of hopefully lifetime friendship, right? With your
Yeah.
friends because you guys look like you're having a blast all the time.
Yeah. My friends are so important to me. Oh my God, she's waving.
I can tell how important they are,
They
and
are. Yeah. I have one of my friends. So I have another group of friends who we've been friends since we were kids, but never really ignited the friendship until later on in our lives.
yeah,
And then I also have a like couple other friends, like friends from college. And I have a best friend who I've had since middle school. When I used to get bullied, she used to be the only one who was on my side. And yeah, I'll never forget that. It's just I think having people who actually care about you changes your entire life.
it's your
I think
tribe.
it's
It's your
crazy.
tribe.
Yeah.
It's your
Yeah.
tribe, and you can choose your tribe. You can't choose your
Absolutely.
family, but you can choose your tribe. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that is
100%.
and it's really I think it's really important for women too to have a tribe
Hmm.
because we've got our families, we have our spouses, we have our partners,
Yeah.
but you need that tribe of people that can kind
Hmm.
of, cut through a lot of the bull, you know what I mean? And just like give you the honest feedback about stuff or be there to
Absolutely.
support you like when, it all falls to hell, it all falls into, some awful, states.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so right now, I know you just talked about it, so you're going to be putting some more emphasis on it, but what do you think is your most important job like right now?
My most important job, I think, is to bring music to the world.
Yay!
But again, my problem is that I don't prioritize that most important job out of fear. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of people around me to try to push me in that right direction. So I'm working on it. and we'll see. I'm hoping that I will take their input because I know they are knowledgeable and they all have, they're all, people I look up to in many different ways. So I trust their input and I'll try to follow that as well.
That's
Take
good.
that
That's
with
a
me.
it's
Yeah.
a good it's a good it's a good mantra for 2024, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
The
good
year
way of
of
kicking off the
change.
year.
We say that about
Exactly.
every year.
So I have this weird question, which is like if you could have any tool that you could just it doesn't exist on the planet right now, but if there was a
Yeah.
tool that you could build that would help you with your job, like what kind of tool would that be?
Hmm. Actually, you know what? I think I think I would want a tool that can make the music in my head uh like convertible into like I can convert it to theory. I mean, I think the easier thing to do is just learn music theory,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's a level of like unnatural feeling when I try to communicate through music theory. And I'm not very good at it either, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
good at, and I think also the reason because of that is music is like a creative zone for me, and that adds structure. And as we all know, I'm not good with structure.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
but the reason I say that is because without like having much mastery over an instrument, if I have like a crazy musical idea, I like to think in harmonies.
Mm.
So I have to write like a 10-part harmony down.
But
Oh,
if you
I
could
can't,
take that from your,
yeah.
if you could take what's happening in your brain and then it would output it, it would just make it faster for you,
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
I totally understand the easier solution is to learn music theory, but I don't know, it's just not appealing to me. It's not appealing to me at all.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to actually learn the notation and be able to sit
Yeah,
there and like, write everything down. So I totally know where you're coming from.
absolutely.
Okay, so this is the last question, but it's the most fun question. So
Hmm.
what kind of unicorn are you? What kind of magic do you have?
I think I'm a unicorn that loves to give, whether it's time, music, my interests, my love for other people. I love to share it with others, and that's what makes me happy.
Mhm.
Um, though it's not always a seamless process because sharing comes with responsibility and expectations. There's no greater feeling than bringing happiness to someone or knowing that I've helped someone feel an emotion that can change them in a positive way. So I think I'm a unicorn that wants to give to society in
Mhm.
any way possible that can make a positive contribution. That I think that's my best asset as a
Yeah.
human being.
That's, and you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it through your music, you're doing it through I mean, from my own experience, your interpersonal your interpersonal relationships with people. So I think that you're 100% on the on the nose on that one.
Thank you, thank you.
And I can't wait to see what you're gonna do. I mean, you're doing already just amazing. It's just like, where
Thank
are you
you.
gonna go with this? So
No, and
um,
I think like I'm a unicorn in training again that loves to give because I feel like again, like I said, giving comes with expectation. It comes with sometimes feeling like you're giving too much. But again, like the point of this is to be a good person in life and to contribute good. And so I'm working on like obviously dehumanizing that aspect a little bit because humans have very complex emotions and they oftentimes mix it up with things that are genuinely good for society.
mhm,
And those are the kind of things that all of us as human beings, I think, need to work on. It's
mhm.
just separating what's truly good from what is good, but also giving you like an emotional insecurity. So I think that's what all humans need to work on, just like myself. And I'm young. I'm sure I have a lot of other lessons to learn that I haven't even scratched the surface on. So this
Yeah.
time. So
Well,
yeah.
just to let you know, I mean, when I listen to your music, when Evie and I sit, because I always watch it with Evie, because she always wants to see what you're up to. And when we sit there and we listen to your music, I mean, it's like the hairs, my arms stand up. It's so
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
And you're so talented. And, selfishly, I just love the fact that I know you.
Oh my God,
And then
please.
I
That's
go, I
same
know
thing
that
here.
person.
No,
I
no,
know that
no.
woman. She's amazing.
Thank
And
you,
so I
thank you,
think that
thank
what
you.
you're trying to accomplish by doing good in the world and making the world a better place, you're doing that. With your music is doing that. You're doing that as a person. And I just, like I said, I can't wait to see what you're gonna do. So,
Thank you. And I mean, I don't personally think I've gotten there yet. These are all things
which
I
is
need to
okay.
work on. Yep,
Yeah,
but I hope one day I can look back and say that I have accomplished that, because that is my goal in life.
yeah,
And I have a long way to go, hopefully. So, a
yeah.
lot of learning experiences on the way.
You're gonna do a lot more. So,
Thank
well,
you. I have great examples like you,
oh
so
well,
I'll be fine.
I just want to thank you again for agreeing to do this because I know
No,
it kind
no,
of came out of
please.
left field, but I wanted to be able to capture you at this particular juncture because I know how many plates you've got going in the air, and it's just
No,
interesting to get that snapshot of where you are, right? So, but
yes.
thank you again, and I am looking forward to, maybe doing this again in like 10 years and see where you're
Oh,
at, right?
of course. Hopefully it's not exactly the same interview
It won't
verbatim.
be. It will not be. I am 100% sure that it will not be. Absolutely. So
Thank you. And I mean, it's an honor for me to be talking to you, and you're just such an amazing person. So the fact that you even thought of me as someone even reminiscent of a unicorn means a lot to me. So thank you so much for your time and for setting this up. I really appreciate it, and it's my honor to be here.
I think it's my unicorn magic is recognizing other unicorns. So I
That's
knew
the
right
best. I mean,
away.
that's the best kind. You need to build a unicorn tribe, right?
I
So
know I need to get a herd together, right? That's kind of what
yeah,
I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do here. So cool. Well, thank
absolutely.
you so much. And
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you.